And this breaking news tonight, Mississippi lawmakers passed a sweeping youth court overhaul during the latest special session. 3 News Side's Courtney Ann Jackson has the highlights and historic moments from today now that the session is over.
The bill passes.
While not the first time the legislature has convened in the old Capitol in decades, this does mark the first time legislation has been passed in the building since 1903. No. The focus? Kids.
And no, I'm not waiting until January when we have an opportunity right now to reform a system that is broken, that is hurting children, that is hurting parents. That is what we are here to do.
It's easy to get lost in the political and legal jargon here, but we're talking about kids abused, neglected, and troubled, those who find themselves part of the youth court system. Representative Kevin Horan.
We have been dealing with this issue about uniformity in youth court, or trying to get something moving along for the last 2 or 3 years.
But some members push back.
I'm not opposed to reform, I'm opposed to rushed reform.
More than half of the counties don't have full-time youth court judges, and this bill would add 9 judges to help with that gap. Supporters say it's past time.
Chaos is existing in youth court right now every day.
The next piece is the funding. They're planning to put state money towards expanding capacity at Oakley Detention Center, but they don't want every troubled child locked up. It also provides for more diversions. Some worry it opens the door to more trauma by allowing judges discretion on when youth court is closed or open to the public and press.
For someone who has worked inside of the system and am involved in many different aspects of it, I'm concerned about the safety of children and their information.
Horan admits the legislation isn't perfect, but believes it takes positive steps forward.
How in the world we put more people in the system, more eyes on our children? That's a bad thing. How can we argue that?
The green light on the money was the final piece, with both chambers approving $29.5 million in new spending to help facilitate the reforms. Courtney Ann Jackson, 3 on your side.
Now, Governor Tate Reeves issued a statement saying, in part, thanks to this common sense legislation, our state will enhance its ability to help kids who are abused and neglected and continue the meaningful progress being made at the Mississippi Department of Child Protection Services. Senate Minority Leader Derek Simmons said Democrats support improving the youth court system. However, he said the session did not provide sufficient opportunity for public input. He added, when significant changes are made without broad stakeholder engagement, there is a greater risk of unintended consequences that could ultimately undermine the very reforms we all seek to accomplish.